The hooded executioners are actually called dismantling men in Japanese. This epiphany put an end to the confusion I've experienced for 2 years now, while trying to connect the hooded executioners to the cone-headed executioners. It all actually makes sense. In Hemwick Charnel Lane, the men cut up or dismantle corpses with their axes, while the grave women grind them up into dust with their hammers. Together, they produce bone marrow ash. Makes for a productive and harmonious village, as well as an amazing vacation spot.
There are Pthumerians working for the church. The church servants that have the lanterns and the cane. The DLC kind of like settles on this because you see a church servant next to a regular member of the healing church. So like, it's not saying that the healing church has people working for it who've taken in so much blood they look like Pthumerians. The healing church literally has Pthumerians working. Like, an early theory was that the healing church creates those giants by experimenting on people, but it's kind of obvious at this point that the healing church just dug those giants up and put them to work again. Mm-hmm. So, like, you can have Pthumerians working because they don't seem to be very intelligent. They just seem to like, or at least they don't seem to have much free will. Like, you can just order them around and they will do what you want. Having said that, when you go to the Cathedral Plaza, it's full of dead bodies. Dead church members who are all around where the giants are. It's not immediately clear, like, did the Pthumerian giants kill them? Like, was there a rebellion? Or were they killed by the Yarnamites who are yelling, like, death to the ministers? I don't know what happened. Mm-hmm. So, you can have Pthumerians work. There does seem to be, like, an agreement between them or something. Because, like, the only Pthumerians that we see that display any kind of, like, free will are maybe the Pthumerian descendant variant bosses. Queen Yharnam obviously does. And then, like, I guess, depending on how you interpret Annalise, like, she's quite free will. And I guess Ligarius was as well when he was alive. But you can just kind of order Pthumerians around, it looks like. They're just servants. That's how they're described, actually. They said they're the servants of the Grey Ones. So they might have been intentionally created to not have any free will.
And there's more than one example of Pthumerians going above ground, right?
There's many.
Could you talk about the one you found recently?
Oh god. Okay. There's two parts to this. The first is that there are, like, above ground versions of various things in the Pthumerian labyrinth. So, like, the big caped guys with the axes that we call executioners, but that's a bad name for them. They're Pthumerians. It's not very well explained, but they are wearing this, like, plate armor that only Pthumerians wear. And they're wearing, like, they look a lot like, if you know the big fat Watcher enemies from the Labyrinth. They just look like one of those guys in plate mail armor. And the important thing is, like, no one uses plate mail armor except Pthumerians. So the fact that you have these hulking, gigantic guys who are the same build, roughly, as the Labyrinth Watchers in this plate mail armor says to me that those are Pthumerians. And you find them in places like, you find them in Hemwick, which is quite close to Canehurst, which is a ex-Pthumerian place. And then you have, like, you have them in Forbidden Woods as well, and you have them outside Yahar'gul, where they've got Pthumerians working for them. So it follows, like, their Pthumerian guys. And then you have, like, the Shadows of Yharnam look and behave very similarly to the Keeper of the Old Lords boss. You've got Ligarius, who behaves and looks like a hollow version of the Pthumerian Descendant and Elder bosses. Then you've got, like, the entire of Canehurst, which looks like a Pthumerian kind of surface colony. Like, there's, like, portraits in there of people dressed as Bell Maidens. There's a portrait of a guy in the same armor set that you find in the Labyrinth. And, like, Annalise is obviously her quest line never goes anywhere, but it's very heavily implied that she is, you know, at least like half Pthumerian. So I've forgotten what the second part of this is. Okay, what happens is, if you look into the little snatches of information about the Pthumerians that we're given in text, it talks about there being, like, that the Pthumerians rebelled against the Great Ones by naming one of them a queen. So presumably that's Yana. And all around the Pthumerian labyrinth, you find these dead bodies that have the armor on them that is the armor of Cainhurst. And then you have, like, if Ligarius is a Pthumerian, he went to the surface to fight Annalise. And, like, you find hunter's marks in the labyrinth, which is what the executioners wore on their robes, and they followed Ligarius. So it's almost like there was a civil war in Pthumeru between these two groups, and, like, the Cainhurst group got driven to the surface or something, and then Ligarius showed up to finish the job, or something like that. But it's not... I don't know who exactly is on what side in this, because it talks about, like, Yharnam is... Yharnam, like, rebelled against the Great Ones by being proclaimed a queen, but at the same time she's also had the child by a Great One, and it's... I don't quite know, but it does look like the Pthumerians fought each other at one point, and the Cainhurst ones are like a defeated faction that fled to the surface.